Okay, so Pyro Gold interview here with once again the one and only Dr. Joe Strauss, and who has the number 11 grandchild on the way here in a few weeks. So exciting stuff here as we're talking about innate intelligence and all this, and new baby on the way. So that's good. Um, so this week we're going to pick up with number 22, Principle 22, and we'll just truck along and see how far we can get. I think Principle 22 is one we can probably get through relatively quickly because it's something we have discussed in the past in terms of the quality of innate intelligence, which is Principle 22. Principle 22 is simply states there is 100% of innate intelligence in every living thing. Excuse me, it's the quality of innate intelligence, not the quantity. The quality of innate intelligence. And then in the description, he says there is 100% of innate intelligence in every living thing. However, he then goes on to talk about how the quantity of innate intelligence in one thing may not be as much as the quantity in another living thing. So we had this discussion before talking about the innate intelligence of an ant versus that of an elephant. It's still 100%. The quantity is still the same. It doesn't change regardless of the size of a person or a thing, a living thing. So your thoughts on that one as I fumbled my way through that for a moment.
Okay, let me go back to principle number 20, okay?
Yeah.
A living thing has an inborn intelligence within its body called innate intelligence. Just kind of review that to bring us up to date. A living thing has an inborn intelligence within its body called innate intelligence. Innate, of course, means inborn, and that's what innate intelligence would be defined as something that's inborn within a living thing.
Right.
Okay, lost my place here. Within its body called innate intelligence. So there's an innate intelligence within every living thing.
Yes.
I think we need to make a distinction between innate intelligence and the soul, which I guess we've discussed that before.
Yeah.
The fact soul is
Well, even
something
in your book right here that I'm holding, as you go on and to give your commentary, and I don't mean to cut you off here, but just illustrate where you're going here. You comment about after he goes through and talks about quantity of innate intelligence in one thing may not be as much as the quantity in another. You write, here again we run into the problem addressed earlier. There cannot be a quantity measurement to a metaphysical entity. Does a baby or an adult have a bigger soul? When you have a second child, why does the love for the first not diminish? And that was your commentary there.
In what book?
In your book, commentary of the 33 Principles.
Okay.
It's a pretty good book. You should check it out.
I should. Probably been a while since I've read it, so I hope I didn't say anything wrong in there. But yeah, I think that of course delineates the difference between innate intelligence and the soul. That the fetus has an innate intelligence in it. It is a body, the body of a living thing. And when we get to 21, that's what it says is the mission of innate intelligence is to maintain the material of the body of a living thing in active organization. There's obviously active organization within the body of a fetus, Now the question is whether there's a soul in there or not, and that's something that I think gets out of the realm of chiropractic philosophy and into the realm of theology, and that's why I handled that question differently, or that principle differently. We would say that the body of a living thing, and obviously a living thing would be, and BJ has the body of a living thing in what he calls what I call is air quotes, but he calls it quotes in principle number 21. A living thing would be anything that's live. So it would be either the ant or the elephant. Both of them are a living thing. My question is whether that leaves the realm of chiropractic philosophy and gets into the realm of theology, and there would be a difference among people who hold to theology. Some would say that's why BJ made the concept of God the same as universal intelligence.
Right.
I tend to think that they're different concepts. One a theological concept, and one a chiropractic philosophical concept, and so they are different. And that's one area where I I tend to disagree with BJ and probably a lot of chiropractors who would say that those terms are interchangeable.
Right.
And
well, as we've discussed before, there's certain characteristics of universal intelligence that are not characteristics of God. So.
Right. And of course, innate intelligence would not be God in man, unless it meets all the criteria for God, and
right.
Obviously it does not.
Well, I think as we've discussed also before, it's just the simplest answer is that those are both creations of God. God created the law of organization through innate or universal intelligence is that keeping everything in existence and maintaining everything in existence. And the law of organization in the human body is innate intelligence. Not to jump too far ahead already, but in principle 23, that's how Stevenson describes it. He talks about it being a law of organization. Where is it here? I know I saw it somewhere. I can't find it out. Here it is. Yeah. So he just says very simply here, innate intelligence, the law of organization. So there we have it. So those are, I would say, we can very confidently say, like everything else in the universe is a creation of God, but those two things are principles and laws that he created to help keep everything in order, whether it's in the external from our body's world or our internal world of our body, the law of organization being an innate intelligence.
Yeah, then, but if we use the terms synonymously, universal or innate intelligence and God, or universal intelligence and God, then we would have to say that any matter has universal intelligence, but we can't say that any matter has God.
Right.
And it can't say that a rock has God within it.
Right.
And you can't say the same thing about innate intelligence. You can't say that any living thing has innate intelligence. Although a lot of people who hope one day to see their dog or cat in heaven will hope that the dog or the cat has an innate intelligence synonymous with God.
Right.
But I guess you have to be a dog lover or a cat lover to expect that they're going to one day be in heaven. But
Right.
I don't think we consider in chiropractic, we do say that any living thing has an innate intelligence,
Yes.
but we can't say that a cat or a dog has a soul. Well,
Right.
I know that a cat doesn't.
That's
I'm a dog,
obvious.
I'm a dog lover.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, I guess we can.
Well, Jesus,
In
we
the
can just say too, Jesus didn't come to earth to save cats and dogs. It's not
that's
why he
right.
died on the cross or any other animal.
That's
So,
right. That's right. But uh, I think that we can say that any organization, any in quote living thing has active organization, and I think we can uh, extrapolate that. Talk about any living organization or any living organism has some kind of intelligence within it, and a living a living organization has intelligence within it. Now we explain that in the concept of an organism or an organization having it within a an animal,
mhm,
and we say that there is innate intelligence within that, so that there is innate intelligence within an animal, and the organization has intelligence within it. Um, I think we'd have to be more specific to describe what that intelligence is. In other words, a chiropractic organization has chiropractic intelligence within it, or it should anyway.
yeah, hopefully.
And that's what we're trying to do here for some of the people who will see this video. I get them to understand what chiropractic intelligence is.
Right.
Chiropractic intelligence is embodied in certain principles that we have, uh, and that's what we're discussing,
Mhm,
and we're getting into some that may create difficulties with us as far as our understanding, but we're hoping that when we go through this and raise questions and answer those questions, that we
right.
can understand what that chiropractic intelligence embodied in these 33 principles
Right.
looks like,
Yeah.
and understand it. So
So to
I
wrap up principle 22 here, I guess I
mhm,
get when you read this, I don't understand why the principle is about the quality of innate intelligence. And then he goes off and starts talking about the quantity and saying how it can be different. So I'm not sure what he was thinking there. Um, it seems to create a little bit of confusion there. But I think it's
who's
pretty clear. The principle 22, the quality of innate intelligence, that no matter what, innate intelligence is always at 100%. No matter if a person is running in the Olympics or if they are in their final moments of life, there's still 100% innate intelligence in both of those bodies.
yeah, so we would say that innate intelligence is an absolute. Either there's 0%
Yes.
innate intelligence or 100%
Yep.
innate intelligence, as far as the quality of it, and obviously the quantity of the material of an organism um, varies with the individual. Um, the quantity of the matter of an elephant is far different than the quantity of matter of an ant. But the quality of the innate intelligence
Okay.
is identical in both those organs, and I think that if we carry that further, we can, in the human body, we can say that there's a a quantity of innate intelligence because innate intelligence is the expression of intelligence through the matter. So we can't say that the quantity of the matter is a defining aspect of the intelligence. It's the quality of the matter, and the quality of the matter is either alive or it's not alive. So that would determine whether it's expressing innate intelligence or not. So that
All right.
we look at. I was thinking about this this morning. I was thinking about this whole idea, thinking that that we talk about things that are antibiotics, and that's meaning against life, and we look at those things, and sometimes some people need to have an antibiotic put into their body,
right?
But it is against life,
right?
And all kinds of life. It's just a matter of whether that antibiotic is going to destroy unwanted life within the body, which might be a bacterial organism or some kind of parasitic organism within our body, and from from the standpoint of our whether it's good for us or not, it may be necessary to use that antibiotic, and but we also need to know that that antibiotic is against life, and that's why we as chiropractors say that it needs to be examined and analyzed very carefully whether that antibiotic should be administered to a person, because it is against life in general. And we know that antibiotics tend to be destructive to what some people say subjectively are good organisms, mainly the flora of the digestive tract. And so that's why we don't, as chiropractors, don't get involved in making decisions as to whether they're good or bad organisms, or whether the life that they're against, or the life that they're destroying, is good or not. We know that sometimes it is, and if a person has a serious condition in which there's detrimental to the organism by the bacteria or the in the body, that it may need to be addressed with an antibiotic, but that's not our role as chiropractors to make that decision. And that, of course, was, I think, one of the very, very early decisions that were made with regard to the chiropractic profession, when they were defining and creating laws regarding chiropractic. And that's why in the very early stages of the profession, chiropractors were not allowed to treat communicable diseases, because those communicable diseases were best treated by the administration of antibiotics or something else that would destroy life. And chiropractors were not allowed to do that, not licensed to do that. And as time went on, we began to try to affect life by chiropractic, and the only affectation we have of life, is that a word, affectation?
Sounds good. You say it with great certainty, so it sounds right.
Well, the only affectation of life that we have is to improve or restore the expression of intelligence through matter. That's the sum total of the purpose of what we have as chiropractors, either, and as far as our objective is concerned. And we don't attempt to affect life in any other way or make judgments as to whether an antibiotic or some other chemical or some other substance put into the body is good for the life of that individual, when it may in fact destroy other forms of life or other expressions of life within that individual. sometimes that may be necessary, and sometimes it may not be necessary, and that's why some people have reactions to antibiotics, and some
Mm-hmm.
people are
Right.
are saved by the use of antibiotics, and that's not part of our role as chiropractors to make that determination. That was the practice of medicine when chiropractic first began, and when they began to license and regulate the practice of chiropractic,
Right.
and we just uh, adopted or continued with that understanding, and that's what the 33 principles kind of focus our attention on the expression of intelligence through matter rather than making judgments about uh, any organism
Right.
within within the uh, within the human body.
Right. It's our job is to make sure that that life is being expressed. Then what the matter does is out of our control. We can't really do anything about it. So why even try to kid ourselves or the people that we're helping that we can? We don't have, what that adjustment, how it affects that person's body is up to the body, out of our control. The one thing we can control is given a quality adjustment and then let the body do what it can with that adjustment. And hopefully it's something that they want to experience.
Yeah,
But if it's
but
not, again, we've got to make sure that we communicate to people that 100% of the time, there's that you've heard, of course, the phrase chiropractic works, and it does work. But what they're talking about more often than not is in the symptomatic realm. It works in that it always allows better expression of life in the body. And when we just say chiropractic works, I think people take that as, oh, it works to make my headaches go away or my back pain go away. And in that case, it doesn't work. It works some of the time, but it doesn't work all the time in that case. And so um, I think we have to be better communicators with people and letting them know that what we mean by if a chiro, I don't use that phrase because it's too confusing, but if someone does use phrases like that, to make sure that what you mean by that is this, that you, even if you get adjusted and your headaches don't go away, you're still better off than you were before. Just like if someone, I like to use the example in the office, if a person was 100 pounds overweight and they had low back pain, and they had a friend come up to them and say, hey, you know what, maybe you should lose the weight, maybe that would help your back pain. And they kind of see that and go, that makes sense. So they get into great shape, they lose 100 pounds, but they still have back pain. Now, would it make any sense to go, oh, that was a waste of time, now I'm just going to gain 100 pounds back? Of course not. You're still better off than you were before. Even though you had the back pain, well, you're in better shape than you were before. So it's no different with chiropractic. People tend to kind of go, oh yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, a person without back pain and a good nurse and a better nerve supply is better off than a person with back pain and a poor nerve supply.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
I'm going to improve that nerve system. I think the more difficult one to wrap for a lot of chiropractors to wrap their head around is this idea that chiropractic gets sick people well,
right.
and I think that's another one that we need to be able to, first of all, we need to have to explain what getting well means. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Getting well, that doesn't mean getting rid of your headache or getting rid of your uh, a microorganism that's in your body, even
Yeah,
though your body may be able to do that, and it will
right.
be able to do that a little bit better with a good nerve supply. Or
Mm-hmm.
whether it will be sufficiently to make a difference, um, I don't know. I know when my youngest daughter went into the military, uh, she had to suffer through having some uh, injections
Oh,
when
sure.
even though all her life she never had any,
Yeah,
and she said, what am I going to do about this, Dad? And being raised under chiropractic care all her life, um, she didn't want one of these shots. And we said, well, that's the law, and that's the standard that the military has
right.
established, and let's make sure that you're adjusted before you go and get that shot, so your body can withstand the insult that foreign substance is going to do,
Right.
and that and so that's what she did,
Yeah.
and she had no reactions from those shots,
Mm.
which means that I guess the argument for the shots would be everybody should have them since she didn't have any.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but that's the same as saying, that everybody should have any procedure done to them.
Well,
And a lot of people do, and some people
George
have.
Burns, he lived to 100 years old and smoked cigars every day. So I guess everyone should just smoke cigars.
Yeah, I've never had a cigar, so I can't.
No, it's the
But
same thing, though. It's the same thing.
that,
Someone will look at that and go, "Well, he made it to 100 and he smokes cigars every day, so it doesn't. It's not a big deal." Well,
sure, people who say, well, what did you do? What did you do for your long life? And they say, well, I drank a fifth of whiskey and smoked cigars every day, and maybe you would live to 105 if you didn't smoke cigars and drink a fifth of whiskey every day.
his
Yeah,
body had a great ability to adapt to the stresses he was putting onto it.
yeah. So I think that understanding that the fact that any living thing is proportional to its requisite amount, and the requisite amount of innate intelligence, as 22 says, the requisite amount of innate intelligence is 100%, but the relative amount may be dependent upon the intelligence and the matter. So the matter may change if a person is, like you had just explained, if a person is 100 pounds overweight, they've got a lot more matter. So that doesn't mean that they're better than a 95-pound weakling.
Yeah.
They may be better if that extra weight is in muscle. They may express a little bit better, but that doesn't mean that they have more innate intelligence in there. The requisite amount, and the requisite amount for an individual is, from our chiropractic philosophy, the requisite amount for an individual is 100%.
Right.
And our function as chiropractors, I think, is to make sure that 100% is in active organization and not at 0%. So if you come down to the organism, and within the organism, that the cells or the organs within the organism all have 100% of their requisite amount, with required amount for every part or every organ within an organism should be 100%. And that's what we're going to do as chiropractors. Does that mean that a person who has an organ removed, whether it was necessary or whether it was not necessary, is going to be 100%? No. That then they have a certain amount of limitation of matter,
Right.
and why we chiropractors don't get involved in surgical procedures for individuals, even though sometimes those surgical procedures may be necessary, but they should be done by somebody qualified.
Just because we don't do something doesn't mean it's not necessary. It's just we stick to what our purpose is and let other people do other things. I think too many chiropractors take that the wrong way. That if a chiropractor is only adjusting for the purpose of allowing that life in the body to express itself at 100%, they automatically assume that chiropractor must be against doing these things. It's like, no, it's not the case at all. It's just not what we do. A plumber isn't against electricians. They just don't do electrical work.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we do the electrical work, not the plumbing.
Right. Exactly. A much cleaner job. Much more pleasant. All right. So I think that's principle 22.
I think that we really realize that every living thing and I think that that includes organs, which are a living thing, and that's why they can take organs, some organs they can take out of the body and put them in somebody and transplant them to somebody else's body, and they still are able to live. I remember one time that I had a patient come in the office who had a transplant surgical procedure, and of course I brought the question up to my my students in philosophy class. You know, what should we do about that fella if we give him an adjustment, then his body is going to work better? Will that cause his body to reject that that transplanted organ, or will it? Or what should we do? And we had a lively discussion one day in philosophy class and trying to understand that. And we know that the body will work a little bit better with a good nerve supply, but will that enable that person to reject that transplanted organ, that transplanted part, better, or won't it? And we had some difference of opinion with the students, and of course I left them a day to mull that over and to come to a right decision. And then the next day I gave them the right answer. What I thought was the right answer.
Yes.
And we know that the body is going to work better for the overall function of the innate intelligence of the body, not necessarily innate intelligence of a certain cell or a certain organ, certain part. So that might not happen, and I think that's why certain people do reject certain organs, transplanting certain organs. The body may reject it, and it may not be necessary or vital for that person, or it may be limitations of matter which the body will have to. The body is going to reject it, and that may be something that needs to be attended to medically, or something that we just cannot, because of limitations of matter.
Right.
We can't affect. And so I think those are philosophical questions that probably are left best to chiropractic students to try to understand. But I think the perfect understanding is understanding what the body is going to do, and what that individual is going to do, what their individual body, the innate intelligence of the body is going to do, is what is best for that body or that person. And sometimes it may be that they need something else done medically to preserve their life, or to stave off their death,
right?
Whichever you want to look at it. But that's not our role as chiropractors. Is to make people live longer, or we just make sure that they live more effectively during the time that they're on this earth, and that's our role as chiropractors, and that's where we fulfill that mission is in chiropractic, because every chiropractic patient eventually is going to die, but every medical patient is eventually going to die too, and that's not our objective, or that's not our mission and if we do, then if we say that's our mission, then we have to realize that we all fail, because eventually each one of us is going to die physically at one point or another. And that's,
well, I like to explain it. I probably heard it, I think, from Reggie Gold maybe, but I just tell people chiropractic is all about potential. Whatever your potential is, let's get you at that potential. And if because of surgeries or you had an organ taken out, maybe your potential now it's 80% of what it should have been, but let's get you there. Whatever it is, let's get you to that full potential, and that's the best we can do.
Yes, yes. Now, some people have said that that the human body is designed to live, has the potential to live, perhaps to 100 to 150 years. I don't know how correct that is, but if it is, let's make sure you live as close to that potential as possible. There may be other things you need to do in addition to chiropractic care and having a good nerve supply in order to reach that potential. And maybe some of the things are things that you should avoid doing, like smoking cigars and drinking a fifth of whiskey every day. And maybe that's what George Burns' problem was, that he smoked the cigars, and if he had laid off the cigars, he may have reached closer to his potential, whatever. And I think that what our potential is involves physical things we do to our body, one of which is making sure it has a good nerve supply. Physical things that we fail to do to our body, such as smoking cigars or drinking a fifth of whiskey, and there may be other things that we do or shouldn't do that will affect that potential. And maybe there are things that we just have no knowledge.
There's people that are doing all the right things when we observe somebody, but then things happen. So there's things that we're exposed to that we don't even realize that are going to affect how our bodies function. So we have to just do our best to do those things, and that our focus, of course, is allowing that nerve system to function at its best. So so I think that's 22. Let's move on to 23. What do you think?
Well, I don't know whether we have the time. Again, I think we need to keep in mind, and it's something that we need to tell people who come into our office, that you could have your spine adjusted. It could be in perfect adjustment, and then you have a 100% nerve supply. And if you walk out of the chiropractor's office and start to cross the street, and you hit a tractor trailer, you may pass limitations of matter, despite being adjusted. But under all circumstances, you're better off with a good nerve supply. Whether that's going to make a noticeable difference, that's up to every individual person. And
well, I think of myself personally, even I've been adjusted now. I get adjusted. Today's my day, every Wednesday, but I've been adjusted every week the last 25 years, and sometimes several times a week. But even in spite of that, I still, if I'm around a dog, I can't breathe. And so it's just, again, it's not doesn't cure everything, doesn't make everything go away. There's still going to be issues that go on. For whatever reason, I have this allergy that bothers me when I'm around cats or dogs or anything with fur. But again, it doesn't mean chiropractic failed. I don't, so the point is, limitations of matter. There's something in my body, some kind of limitation, that I can't be around dogs, even if I get adjusted.
You should maybe buy your wife a fur coat and let her wear it, see if it has any effect.
Funny thing is, we actually there's a woman not too far from here. She raises American hairless terriers. And it sounds awful, but if you look them up online, they're actually kind of cute. They're small dogs, and the way their skin is colored, it looks like fur from a distance, or hair. They have no hair. So we went to her house. She let us come to her house. I wanted to see if this would work and we could maybe get a dog for the kids. And we were there for like 2 hours, and I felt okay for about the first hour and a half. Then I could start feeling it coming on. That's their saliva, it's their dander, it's not really the hair. But we made a valiant effort even. We went to the hairless dog point even. That's how
Okay.
desperate we were, but it didn't work out.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping that maybe your wife would be the recipient of a fur coat, because there was something else that they, in the process of preparing that coat for human wearing, it would not be affected. But if you had a problem with a hairless dog, then you
But the
probably
fur,
had to.
well, my point is the fur coat doesn't bother me because there's no dander in that. So she could have a fur coat.
Okay.
So anyway,
All right. So
so
we're that takes us from 22 to 23, right?
yes, sir. Shall
Take
we
what?
pause here? Maybe we'll pause here for the day and then pick up on 23 next time.
Okay.
So we're not rushed, because I think this one might require a little bit more discussion as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think maybe it will.
And I don't want to rush through that. So let's call it good here for the day. And we've got principle 22 all wrapped up. And so next week or next time we'll get into principle 23. Perfect.
Yeah. Unless something jogs my mind.
Well,
22, and I have to go back.
that happens. That'll be just fine too.